Om 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 Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So let's recite the prayers first. It's a little late. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Mama Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhisha Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadaya Dadati Sapadam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagadita Shri Shakam Deenabandhanti Gopesha Gopika Radha Te Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Radhaneshwari Vrishabhasute Pranamami Hari Panchakalpatarvyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Yat Kripa Tamam Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Atmajaya Sutagara Pashu Dravina Bandhushu Nirudha Umla Hridaya Atmanam Bahumanyate Atmajaya Sutagara Pashu Dravina Bandhushu Nirudha Mula Hridaya Atmanam Bahumanyate Atma, body, Jaya, wife, Suta, children, Agara, home, Pashu, animals, Dravina, wealth, Bandhushu, in friends, Nirudha Mula, deep rooted, Hridaya, his heart, Atmanam, himself, Bahu, highly, Manyate, he thinks. Translation. Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep-rooted attraction for body, wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. This so-called perfection of human life is a concoction. Therefore, it is said that the materialist, however materially qualified he may be, is worthless because he is hovering on the mental plane, which will drag him again and again and again to the material existence of temporary life. One who acts on the mental plane cannot get promotion to the spiritual. Such a person is always sure to glide down again to material life. In the association of so-called society, friendship, and love, the conditioned soul appears completely satisfied. Again, Om Jnana Timrantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I take blessings of all the devotees here present, especially His Grace Sri Kishore Prabhu, and also especially Grace Sri Gaurangi Mataji. Actually, she was supposed to speak today, but unfortunately, I'm speaking today, so please forgive me. So, Krishna consciousness is about the consciousness. It's not about the situation. It's not about the external situation. So, Srila Prabhupada has established the society of the ISKCON so that all living entities can develop love for the Supreme Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of this society, is to develop our love for Krishna. That is the ultimate purpose of following Ekadasi, of following Bhishma Pachak, following anything is to develop our love for Krishna. Krishna tells Uddhav in Bhagavatam that someone, Shri Radha, Gopi Janavalam, someone who is neither too attached nor detached, such a person is actually qualified to make steady progress in Krishna consciousness. So, if we become too much attached, we may become pious, someone will become pious in the good sense, and if someone is too much detached, then that causes a disturbance in his spiritual life. So that's why Srila Prabhupada established the Varnashram system, so that one can follow one's path of purification, one's path of progress, and one can ultimately attain steady progress in Krishna consciousness. So everyone has to follow his or her ashram very, very strictly. Whether one is a brahmachari, a grihastha, and vanaprastha sannyas, mostly the brahmacharis and grihasthas here. So we have to follow our ashram very, very strictly. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Bhakti Aloka, he speaks about the 6 things which are favorable for bhakti and 6 things which are not favorable. And he mentions, he writes an essay on each one of them. And Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. So he mentions Like, for example, he mentions that how that uh, like interaction between um, family members in a family to make progress in Krishna consciousness is actually very, very beneficial. Like, for example, just to give an example, for a husband to speak with a wife about whatever, that is according to dharma, and that helps. I mean, of course, if done properly, it helps in progress of Krishna consciousness. Like you can see, so many exemplary grahastas are sitting in front of us. So if the grahastha system is false or fake or doesn't work, then how are they making progress? But one has to the point is one has to follow his own ashram very, very strictly. So, like, I'm just to give an example. My revered spiritual master, one time, one Mataji, because there are some verses in Bhagavatam which speak very strongly about family attachment, so on and so forth. So she was a little depressed, and she went to Guru Maharaj and said, Maharaj, I have the body of a woman. I'm so fallen. You see in Bhagavatam so many verses, something along the lines. And Maharaj mentioned that uh, the goal of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is to become a maid servant of Srimati Radharani. And you have the body of a woman, therefore you're very, very fortunate. So the point is that we have to be fixed in our Krishna consciousness. We are not here to become, expert brahmacharis, expert grahasthas, expert whatever. That's not the purpose of our life. Because ultimately we have to leave everything. We have to leave uh, the ashram situation, and we have to transcend. Like, of course, when we're chanting the holy name, we're not thinking we're a grahastha, are we? Now, putting altar on the altar, nothing are brahmachari, meditating on these things. This is just like a system. It's like you need a house to live, so it's a system, so that you can practice Krishna consciousness peacefully. So it's a very, very important consideration. So according to the ashram that one is in, one has to follow that ashram very, very strictly. Very, very strictly. If one follows one's ashram very, very strictly, then Mahaprabhu becomes pleased. Like you see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very pleased with Shivananda Sen. When Shivananda Sen had children, Mahaprabhu appreciated, Mahaprabhu gave gifts. And at the same time, when Raghunath Das Goswami was increasing his austerities one after one after one, Mahaprabhu was very pleased with that also. So this is very important. So here the point is that the deep-rooted attraction to the family situation is the danger. And a family situation can happen in the temple also. It can happen anywhere, like, in the name of preaching, we can have our own, comfortable situation, and, speak to those who we preach to in order to get some affection, get some, name and fame. It's very easy to do that and become situated in that. So this deep rooted attraction for the body and those dear to the body is natural. It's very natural for us. So Krishna consciousness means to actually go against our conditioning. Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam that ultimately all that matters is how much we're engaging our mind in Krishna's service. If we are engaging our mind in Krishna's service constantly, seriously, sincerely, then Prabhupada says the intelligence becomes purified. And when the intelligence becomes purified, what happens? Then you get inspiration of the super soul on how to go back home, back to the spiritual world. Ultimately, unfortunately, whether we are in a male body or a female body, both bodies are equally inauspicious. Why? Because Krishna does not interact with the material body. So if we want to interact with Krishna, we need a spiritual body. So until we get a spiritual body, we shouldn't be satisfied. That should be our goal. Our goal should be to get a spiritual body. Mhm. And since this is the month of Kartik, this should be our goal. Kartik is not a month simply meant for like putting on a show. You know, in this month I will do a lot of sadhana, do a lot of whatever, and then for the rest of the year, you know, forget everything. I mean, I'm like that, so I'm speaking about myself. So we have to change our consciousness, change our standards, change our perception, so that we can make steady progress in Krishna consciousness. The first thing we have to understand is everything external, nothing external is going to give us happiness. The only thing which is going to give us happiness is to depend on Krishna. So we have to practice this internal dependence on Krishna, and we have to become less and less externally oriented. Actually, in ISKCON, we are all meant to become Brahmanas. What is the main quality of a Brahmana? Main quality of a Vaishnava is he depends on Krishna. I mean, just to give an example, like the more and more we take shelter, we surrender to Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori. In that song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, uh, he says, Shikhaye Sharnagati Bhakatera Pran. So this word pran means a life. So the life of devotion is actually surrender. So surrender means that we are taking constant shelter of Krishna. That's the important thing. So when we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna has a chance to reciprocate in our life. If we don't take shelter of Krishna, where is the opportunity for Krishna to reciprocate? Mhm. Like one very wonderful devotee one day was mentioning that whenever we are in any problem, if we find our own solution, then Krishna thinks, okay, he's independent. He's good. Why does he need me? But when we take shelter of Krishna, like for example, we'll be put in a situation, Krishna will put us in that situation that we will be forced to take shelter of him. And by taking shelter of him, our faith in him will increase. And the more our faith in him will increase, the more we will be interested to know about him, to think about him. Most important uh, aspect of our life is how much we're thinking of Krishna, how much we're trying to think of Krishna. That's the only thing which matters. If we think of Krishna more and more, then we become attracted to Krishna. We won't be attracted to Maya. And the more and more we become attracted to Krishna, then Krishna will make all wonderful arrangements, because ultimately at every moment we are radiating a particular kind of consciousness. So there are different kinds of consciousness, different grades of material and spiritual consciousness. And according to the kind of consciousness we radiate, like whether Annamaya, Pranamaya, whatever, accordingly we attract particular kind of thoughts. What is thoughts actually? Thoughts is Krishna's inspiration. Yoga Kshema Mahamyaham. So Krishna helps us to remember certain things and forget certain things based on our consciousness. And if we attract Krishna's mercy and Krishna helps us to remember him at every moment, then intelligence becomes purified and we get inspiration from the super soul on how to make steady progress in Krishna consciousness. If you make progress in Krishna consciousness, then automatically, externally, everything will be wonderful. Even if something is not wonderful, still you can take a humble position. It's easy to take a humble position when we are filled with Krishna conscious thoughts. Because ultimately, what is our capability to change people in this world, to influence people in this world? What capability do we have? We have very little capability, we have very little control over situations and people. The only thing we have control over is our own mind. So, the most important thing in Krishna consciousness is how much we are thinking of Krishna, how much we are trying to think of Krishna, how much we are making serious efforts in our sadhana and our seva to take shelter of Krishna. That is the most important thing. I was just reflecting recently that when I'm doing any service, if I don't feel unqualified, it means actually I'm not tasting anything. If you're actually tasting something, you feel the mercy of the Lord flowing through you, then the taste in bhakti will make you feel unqualified, will make you feel I don't deserve. And the more and more we feel like that, the more and more we can become an instrument and we can make progress in Krishna consciousness. Because ultimately, until we attain a spiritual body, we can fall down. Until we attain sthai bhav, we can fall down at any moment. We're under the grips of Maya. So until that time, we have to be very, very careful. So, yeah, it's very important for us to spiritualize, uh, sorry, to spiritualize our family, our ashram, our life. It's very, very important. Very, very important. And the first thing we have to do, I mean, this is my humble uh, little experience from this Kartik month. The first thing we have to do is we have to cut down our talking. That's the most important thing. Because most of the time, the reason why we experience problem in thinking of Krishna, remembering Krishna, because this is the most important thing. The reason why we experience difficulty in that aspect is because we speak words which hurt others. Consciously or unconsciously, less or more, we speak words. And as a result of that, um, because in our heart there are positive and negative sound vibrations. So when we speak words which hurt others, negative sound vibrations, I mean negative thought vibrations will be triggered naturally. So we have to cut down our speaking. To cut down our speaking, increase our sadhana, increase our sadhu sangha. Hear more, speak less, and always be in the association of very serious devotees. Very serious devotees. This is very, very important. This is what we can cultivate in this month. We can pray to Krishna that Krishna, please, the tongue is the most voracious. Please help me to control the tongue. Please help me to only speak words which are beneficial. Like His Grace Shama Lakshmi used to tell me always initially, I used to speak so much. He used to tell me that just see that how much these pure devotees speak. They speak very less. They speak very, very less. Prabhupada says that speech means to only speak about Krishna. Pure devotees speak only about Krishna, these gurus. But you see how much they speak. They speak very less. And if they speak, it's completely purpose oriented. So we have to control our speech. So the more you control your speech, the more you can watch what the mind is doing. Where are the mind's attachments? What is troubling the mind? Because ultimately, if we can achieve this state, to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, some or other, whether it's Krishna's name, form, devotees, anything related to Krishna, if we can remember always, then we have achieved, we can achieve Nishta stage. And if you can achieve Nishta stage, mental Nishta, that's a real Nishta, then you can experience taste. You can cultivate your relationship with Krishna. So there's a lot of work for us to do even after we reach Nishta stage. To cultivate our relationship with Krishna requires like a gardener, we have to very, very carefully practice the process of Krishna consciousness. So these are some things that we can meditate in this month. And Prabhupada, I'm reading nowadays Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada is saying again and again about Bhagavad Gita, how Bhagavad Gita gives us the instructions on how to perfect our life. If you read Bhagavad Gita, you come to know that actually it's a book for Paramahamsas, it's a book for pure devotees. Because you see that what all Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, in many verses, it's practically unthinkable. The more and more we read that and we come in contact, that's why reading is extremely important. I mean, this is my realization is Kartik month. Reading is life. I feel myself, what life I've been living, what life have I been living? If you associate with Prabhupada constantly, every day, at least for some time, by studying his purports, the quality of your life will change immensely. I guarantee you. Just try for 5 days, read every day for half an hour. You see what happens to your life. Because when you associate with Prabhupada, because Prabhupada is so powerful, however thick your head, I speak for myself, thick your head may be, your ego may be, after associating for some days, you just can't remain the same. Because Prabhupada will take a hammer, hammer your intelligence. What are you doing? Why are you associating with Maya? And like, I mean, this is my personal experience. Prabhupada's words are like fire. You know, it's like a revolution. You cannot stay at your current standard of conviction. So after a few days, you look at the material world and you're like, what is there in material world? It's so boring. This is the power of Prabhupada's purports. So reading is super important because in reading you can actually study and analyze and see what Prabhupada is saying. So you read the words of pure devotees, reading and hearing. If you do this sincerely, then what happens? The next stage will come. You will accept. Once you accept, then you can start thinking of Krishna. So many realizations will come. Just my humble request, just take Prabhupada's purport. Chant Om Ajnana Timara. Just chant. Whenever I read, sometimes I forget, but I like to at least chant Om Ajnana Timara. It's at least that prayer. That prayer is very powerful. Just chant that prayer. Pray to Guru. Pray to Prabhupada, and sit with a purport. And write your own realizations on a purport. You see what nectar comes, what inspiration comes, and you realize that if so many things I'm doing in my life today, I can change. I should change. We have so much opportunity nowadays. If you, I mean, personally, I'm not so comfortable writing, you know, so I use Google Notes. I have a particular email. I created an email only for Prabhupada books notes. And I have in one screen, I have Prabhupada purports. On the adjacent screen, I have Google Notes open. And for purports, I just say notes and I write my own reflections. And that helps me so much. Helps me so much. If we just associate with Srila Prabhupada on a regular basis with faith, with a little surrender, then we can receive so much nectar in our lives. Like Prabhupada purports, Prabhupada books can give us everything. We all know, we all have heard it so many times, but until we actually do it, we won't realize the value of what Prabhupada is saying. We have to do it. We have to, that's why we have to make an austerity, we have to make a vrat, we have to make a vow that I will read, no matter what. I must read Prabhupada purports. Whatever time I sleep, it doesn't matter. I have to read Prabhupada purports, at least in this month, at least in this time. It's very, very important. Extremely important. And then you see the standard of your japa, the standard of your thinking, the standard of everything changes so much. You start finding solutions to problems which you never thought of before. You start seeing the spiritual side of everything. Instead of having the ego that I am the doer, I have to solve my problems, I have to do, automatically as a result of the spiritual knowledge, you can actually become the instrument. See Krishna's hand, see Krishna's mercy, how much Krishna has value in our life, how much Krishna can help us. We start practically seeing this when we take shelter of Prabhupada purports. So, I mean, on this verse also, it's mentioned that we all know that verse. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatira kinchana. One who is a unflinching, kinchana means unflinching devotee of the Lord. He has all good qualities. And what about others? Prabhupada says they have no good qualities. So good qualities come from Krishna. Even though someone may be pretending to be a very nice person, a moralist, but if he's not connected to Krishna, those qualities ultimately are not real. In course of time, because they're not connected to Krishna, they will disappear. Such a person is always sure to glide down again to material life. In the association of so-called society, friendship, and love, the conditioned soul appears completely satisfied. So that's why it's very important for us to associate with pure devotees, the purports of pure devotees, and practice the process of Krishna consciousness with a desire to attain the goal. All these things will be achieved. You'll have the good, correct consciousness, you'll respect devotees, you'll get mercy. Everything will happen if you just do one thing. Just read Prabhupada purports every day. Everything will happen automatically. Prabhupada says, I mean, before I never used to believe, Prabhupada said, faith, I never used to have so much faith, but now I'm feeling, yes, it's true. Prabhupada says, you just read my books, your life will become successful. I said, how life will become successful? You have to practice. Yeah, by reading, you get the strong conviction to practice. So, yeah, today is the auspicious disappearance day of Srila Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj has a very special influence on our parampara, specifically because we are in Kartik month and we're glorifying Vrindavan, of course, but he is very special because both him and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, actually Gaur Das Babaji Maharaj, and even other pure devotees, acharyas, late in their life, they left Vrindavan to go to Navadvip. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, if Krishna wants to show himself to me, let him come and reveal himself to me in Navadvip. I will not leave Navadvip. So, this is the power of Mahaprabhu's Dham, Mahaprabhu's Leela, Mahaprabhu's associates. Narottam Das Thakur says that if you understand that if you dive, if you dive into the nectar of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, you become an intimate associate of Sri Radha and Krishna. So, God Kishore Babaji Maharaj always say that if you simply pray, you simply follow the process, a simple process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu of chanting the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, you will realize everything. he emphasized on reading. He said, don't read so many books. Just read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. And of course, he mentioned Prem Bhakti Chandrika and Pratha. He just mentioned read these few books, chant the holy name, and all realization will come within your heart. Actually, there is nothing new we need to do. The only thing is, whatever we're doing, we have to do that with faith, with intensity, with devotion. So Babaji Maharaj, he was very much stressing on this principle of service. One time, some persons went to Rath Yatra. Rath Yatra, Lord Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, Mahabhav Swarup Prakash Jagannath. He mentioned that these persons who went to the Rath Yatra just went for sense gratification. He didn't go for devotional service. So Babaji Maharaj is mentioning that how when we engage in devotional service, we should be very clear about what we're trying to do. Like sometimes even speaking to myself also, we're associating with devotees, but we're doing prajalpa. We are going to festivals, but we're just engaging, we're just wasting our time. We have so little time left in our life, but still we're wasting it. We're again and again we're wasting our life. Why? Because we don't, two problems. The first problem is because we don't have knowledge, we don't have proper spiritual knowledge. And second is because we're associating with persons who don't have one goal. What is that one goal? Is to attain Krishna Prem. If you don't associate with persons with these two characteristics, then Bahu Shakahi Anantasya, you will be distracted. So Babaji Maharaj was very, very strict, very strict. And Babaji Maharaj, he had the spiritual vision, I mean, as all pure devotees do, to see through a person. So we should always remember this. Yesterday I was writing in my notes, yesterday night I was writing that when we are in any situation, we are worried always about what people think, what people say. But what we forget is the real person who is watching us is Krishna. Even though someone in front of us may not be offended, uh, may not feel bad, but when we take devotees for granted, when we speak offensively, when we speak out of ego, then Krishna becomes displeased. Krishna thinks that, okay, this person, he doesn't want to progress. He doesn't really want to progress. He's okay in his, it's called mental plane. He's happy on his mental plane. So we have to be very conscious of this, that Krishna is watching us. Guru is watching us. And they're not watching with an eye to put us down. They're watching with that eye to encourage us. So the more and more we display the sincerity and simplicity and intense eagerness to go forward, then they will help us. They're helping us in so many ways already, and they will help us more and more and more. Ultimately, the greatest service we can do to this society is our personal example. Our personal example, and it's not just external but internal. The internal thought process, the internal mood is the most important thing. And that is what is going to determine, like the kind of thought process that we have in our mind today will determine the quality of bhakti that we will do maybe a few months later, few years later. It all starts with this. It all starts with this. And ultimately, the ultimate test is the time of death. At the time of death, whatever kind of attachments we have, that will determine our next body. So we have to start preparing from now. And we have to remember that we are not here to have a comfortable material life. Like a brahmachari should not compare with the grihastha. Grihastha should not compare with the brahmachari. Everyone has their own life, has their own inspiration, has their own process in Krishna consciousness. And we have to be conscious of our own paths. Just by being in a family, being in an ashram, it does not mean that we all become one. We are all individuals. We all have our individual duty to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So we are in the we should be in the association of devotees, but individually we should be alone. We should be conscious of our duty in Krishna consciousness. And we should, the more and more we become interested in our need, our deep need to awaken our love for Krishna, the more and more we become conscious of that need, and the more and more we can live in this world peacefully. What is peace? Basically, peace means no disturbance. So, how will the situation come? When you are focused on a higher principle, only then can you neglect the lower principle. If you neglect the lower principle, you won't be disturbed by the lower principle. Because material nature is very, very, very like scrutinizing. Material nature will give you result wherever you want result. If you want result in material sphere, what material nature will do is material nature will say, okay, I'll give you result, but you have to work very hard for the result. You have to work so hard, I'll give you so little result. That's the rule of this. That's the rule of this material world. But if you lose interest in material world and focus on the spiritual, then you can ignore whatever problems, whatever small things happen in material life. Ultimately, whether we're a brahmachari or a grasta, we are not here for social development. We are not here to build an eternal family here. We are here to realize that we are the eternal servant of Krishna. Ultimately, why do we take initiation? Why are we in this process? Because we want to ultimately one day achieve the state of being in a loving relationship with Krishna. That's our goal. Our goal, I mean, I'm sorry to say, but our goal is not to become a good wife, to become a good husband, to have a huge bank balance. This is not our goal. The purpose of our life is to become a pure devotee. But that's all. Nothing else. Everything else is ultimately of no value. So that's why if you neglect the lower principle and work on the higher principle, automatically the lower principle will be achieved. Like if two people are in a family, whoever it is, in an ashram, anywhere, if both of them realize that the goal of my life is, like look in the face of, the deities and Prabhupada and say, at any cost, I need to try my best to achieve my spiritual body. I need it. I've had enough. I've suffered enough. I'm suffering enough. I need a spiritual body. This material body will just not do. So you just promise that, you just vow that in front of the deities, and then you go about your spiritual life, you go about your spiritual development, and then you see the small things that happen. They don't have that much value. We don't need counseling. We don't need huge arguments. We don't need huge conversations. How does it matter ultimately? It's all ultimately useless, temporary. It's going to give us suffering. So we need to be very conscious of this fact. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj recently, Vivalsha Prabhu sent an article, and in that it's mentioned that how even sometimes the thought process that I will do so much seva, I will do this, I will do that. If it reduces our sadhana, if it puts us in the mode of passion, then ultimately it's detrimental for our Krishna consciousness. So we need to be conscious of our how much interest we have in Krishna consciousness, how much we are relishing, how much we are trying to relish. Like just like doctor monitors blood pressure, we have to monitor our interest in Krishna consciousness, and we have to constantly work on it, work on it, work on it. This is the Kartik months, Vishwa Panchak. And ultimately, the goal of life is to attain spiritual body. And like I quoted in Radhashtami class also, that don't say you want something unless you actually want it. If you say you want something but you're not doing it, means you don't actually want it. So this is of course the words of your devotees. And Sripad said that don't say that you want to go back to Godhead, but then what about the material attachments? You have to, I mean, we have to, I have to, everyone has to individually fight with one's lower self and rise up. That's our individual responsibility. And the more we work on ourselves individually, the more we can contribute to the society, the more we can become selfless, the more we can do our duty without being attached, without demanding any credit. So, I mean, there is no substitute to making advancement in Krishna consciousness. We didn't come to become great cooks, to become great pujaris, to become great. We came here to become pure devotees. That's it. And that's all spiritual masters, they just want this one thing, that we become pure devotee. That's it. They have no other desire. They're traveling, they're taking so much karma only for this one reason. They want us to become, they're making all the arrangement only for this one purpose, for us to become pure devotee. That's all. So we have to be fully focused, fully focused. And if we are not focused, it means we're not reading proper books. Simple. We're not studying proper books. If you study proper books, I guarantee you cannot remain the same. You read proper books, study proper books in the association of devotees, definitely your life will change. Like what happens now, proper books are so amazing, like so like just like jewels. What will happen? One concept will take you another concept, another concept, another concept, and ultimately you will at least read and dwell on the highest concept. How can I dwell on that platform? How can I be situated in feeling separation from Krishna? How, when that day will come, these moods will naturally come in your heart. You read proper purpose, naturally. You study proper purpose. Inevitable. If it's not happening, means you're not reading proper. It's simple. Ultimately, we should have a goal when the day will come when I will see this whole world is Vrindavan. It all depends on how much our meditation is. If our meditation is there, we'll see everything as Vrindavan. We'll see the ground as Chintamani. We'll see, everything we'll see as Vrindavan. Or Krishna plays like this, Krishna speaks like this. Everything will remind us of Vrindavan. We have to aspire to come to that state of consciousness. That's what the pure devotees do. They live in Vrindavan always. They always think of Krishna. Everything else, everything reminds them of Krishna. So we have to aspire to come to this platform of consciousness. And it's all there, proper purpose, how to do it. It's all there. The details are there in proper purpose. So I'd like to end here. I'm not going to speak much about the Bhishma Panchak Vrat, except the fact that Krishna says that anyone who follows this Vrat, pure devotional service will come to him without any extraneous endeavor. But at the same time, I'm not emphasizing on it specifically because Prabhupada did not tell us that we must, did not say that we have to do. But yes, austerity always helps in realizing that in going above the bodily platform, it definitely helps. So ultimately, what is the significance of this Bhishma Panchak? Significance is that Bhishma Dev at the last time, at the last moment of his life, Krishna came before his eyes and gave him special darshan. And why? Because he's a pure devotee. So if we don't become a pure devotee, is like generally we have this tendency, there is an exception to a rule, but we cannot make exception the rule. There is an exception. Like, for example, Ajamil, that's an exception. It happened by causeless mercy. He deserved it. It's an exceptional situation. But we cannot make that exceptional situation the rule. So if we don't see Krishna every day, we are not experiencing Krishna, speaking to myself, then how can I expect to see Krishna at the time of death? If you don't become a pure devotee, to see Krishna in death is nearly impossible. And pure devotee means what? It means simple, we need a spiritual body. So is it a cheap thing? So go and read Prabhupada purports. You'll come to know how difficult it is to get a spiritual body, how much we have to endeavor. So once you realize how difficult it is to endeavor, how little time you have, how far you have to go, and speak to myself, it's my realization, you will definitely become very serious. You become very, very serious. And then the more and more you become serious, the more and more help you will get. The more and more you become painstaking in your service. You will stop complaining, oh, why is my sleep less? Oh, why do I have to chant more? Why? Because I need mercy. I need mercy at any cost. I don't want to again, fight with this Maya. I don't want situation again to fight against my mind. I need the mercy at any cost. So we need this kind of consciousness. And this is what we need to cultivate in this month. And it has to go, not just end of this month, but it has to go beyond, beyond. Please forgive me, I spoke anything wrong, inappropriate. If I spoke a little bit strongly, but this is just, I'm just repeating what Prabhupada is speaking. Prabhupada is speaking a lot more in his purports. So my humble request to all the devotees. Generally, when we have access to something, we take it cheaply. Speaking to myself, Prabhupada purports, but Prabhupada purports are like it's incredibly amazing. Like this is my personal realization that Prabhupada purports are just mind blowing, revolutionizing, encouraging. Everything is there in Prabhupada purports. Anyone has any question or comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranams, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, so many times we hear it, so I just wanted to hear when we say we should take shelter of the Lord. So how should we take shelter of the Lord deeply?
Yeah, basically taking shelter. See, when do you take shelter? You take shelter of someone or something when you realize that you don't have any power, when you don't have any hope. So that's what it means to take shelter. Means that you know that you need to make progress. You know that you need mercy, but it's not happening. So what is the only hope? You have to take shelter, you have to pray, you have to cry. Like is all that Saladar Maharaj says. That's the crying path, is the only hope for us. So and that's what it means to take shelter. Means basically I am willing to sacrifice everything. I'm willing to give up everything. I have no conditions at all. I just want mercy. That's it. I'm willing to do anything for it. That's the ultimate. At least we should pray like that. We should pray like that. That's what it means to take shelter. Because ultimately, if you get mercy, you have everything. If you don't have mercy, you don't have anything. So with that consciousness that I'm willing to sacrifice anything, give up anything, have no reservations at all, zero. I just want mercy. I'm fallen, I'm struggling, but I need mercy at any cost. And for that, I'm willing to sacrifice anything.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
When else having a question or comment? Hey, please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong, inappropriate. You all are practicing much better than me, much more pleasing to the Lord than me. I need the mercy of all the devotees. Please forgive me for anything wrong, inappropriate. Once I come through this, कृपा सिंधु भी अच्छा पतना पावन प्रियदर्शन and the Koti Vaishnava Kartik Mas Vishnu Panchagra.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thanks.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.